Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
Hello again, and thank you for joining us on another exciting adventure into future options and possibilities. This is Mission Evolution, where we share innovative thoughts and information with today's leading experts, bringing evolutionary solutions to today's unique challenges. Dear audience, you're a very important part of this discussion. Email info@missionevolution.org with any comments or questions. We'll address them on the very next show. So take notes, sit back, and enjoy. We have a special treat for you today. This is part one of a profound two-part series entitled Gifts of the Ancients, Prophecies and Practices Offering Powerful Guidance for Today. In this, part one, the Aztec calendar and Toltec prophecies, predictions of our times, we'll share thoughts with Mexican healer and practitioner of the ancient Toltec and Aztec lineages, Sergio Magaña. For as long as there have been humans, there have been prophecies that predict future events. However, the problem with predictions is not so much their accuracy, but the quality of their interpretation. Over the years, many misinterpretations have led to hype and hysteria, ending in a non-event. An example, when the Mayan calendar was misread as 12-21-12, being the end of the world rather than simply the end of one era of influence and the beginning of the next. With repeated misreadings of prophetic material and the resulting non-events, it's tempting to toss our hands up and disregard the entire concept. Therein lies a huge mistake, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Comparative mythology and the study of many ancient sacred texts reveals prophecies from our ancestors that appear to be unfolding in modern times. Are there powerful, accurate predictions that can provide guidance for our unprecedented times? Can they be found hidden in the ancient material passed down for generations? If so, the key would be found in the equally ancient art of interpretation. With us this hour to examine the Aztec calendar and the Toltec prophecies as they apply to today is Sergio Magaña. Sergio is a practitioner and teacher of a spiritual lineage that began 5,000 years ago in Mesoamerica with the chichimecas and was passed on to the Aztec. He's a renowned Mexican healer and practitioner of the ancient Toltec and Aztec lineages. Sergio's training is from Toll of Dreaming, the same school of wisdom that was traditionally taught to priests, rulers, and warriors. He's not only undergone numerous initiations, but the complete training of this lineage. Sergio is the author of several books, his newest, The Real Toltec Prophecies, How the Aztec Calendar Predicted Modern-Day Events and Reveals a Pathway to a New Era of Humankind. His website, sergiomagaña.com. Sergio, on behalf of our listeners and myself, thanks for joining us to share your ancestral wisdom.
No, thanks to you, Welda. It's such a pleasure for me to be with you, such a kind lady. And I have to tell your listeners that we have been dealing with challenges to share the information, but in the best and kindest and with a lot of love, we are putting it together to try to help. So thank you for the opportunity.
It's so wonderful to have you. So how did you first become interested in esoteric work?
I think that nothing is coincidence, but my mother used to work, and I am the fourth of four children. I am the youngest one, and my siblings, they had a nanny that took care of them, but then she married in the moment that I was going to be born, and a new nanny came. I was the only one that kind of raised by her, and she was the daughter of the healer, the curandero, of an indigenous group, the Otomis, that lived very close to Mexico City. And she was supposed to be the next in the line of her lineage, but for certain circumstances, she couldn't fulfill it in that way. But she raised me like her children, like her child actually, and she was Catholic actually because it was a syncretism between indigenous wisdom with Catholicism. But I saw many things like how smudging or cleansing with eggs, like containers of eggs and things worked. So I was really like curious because I was a child and I loved like the all these things before Harry Potter about magicians and that. So for me that was like the closest to the what I could see in films or in the TV about creating, manifesting, healing.
Mm. So you're a practitioner of the ancient Toltec and Aztec lineages. Tell us about your training and teachers.
Yeah, of course, it's a long journey from the nanny. I was interested in the. I saw. I think the main benefit of the early childhood is that for me, I saw that both systems worked. For example, I had a traditional family, doctors, the scientific method, and the other one that. And actually, my nanny told me, never tell your parents that I do this because they are going to fire me. Then at the end, when she died, I knew that she was doing it to my mother, to one sister, and to me, but everyone in secret. We all kept our word. So I saw that it wasn't, because then if you grow without seeing that, probably like many people, that their cultures kind of perished. Not perished, but disappeared in other religions or something. They believed that it was nonsense, that probably didn't work, or it was just something that wasn't valid. But like I saw it like as valid as the other. And then of course, you never think that you are going to work in this. It wasn't even in my wildest thought and dream. I wanted to be an actor. I went to a casting for a radio show, exactly, about spirituality. I was in your place, Wilda, interviewing a lot of people, of course with my own practice of many things, about energy, angels, things that some of with them I agreed, others not, but it was like my job that I liked, because of course it made you it forced me to do a good research, to know what you are talking about, and many things. But
So where did you find your first teacher?
um, actually, that's the magic. That sometimes now that I have been doing these interviews for the Real Toltec Prophecies, I said, "Wow! I never realized how magic." One of the carriers of the ancient lineages of Mexico that were transmitted from master to student, his job actually to pay his bills was to be a driver. So normally he was listening to the radio while he drive, and then he said that suddenly he heard me, and he said, "He is the one." Like the one, not the chosen one, to nothing like that. The one that is going to share the information of my lineage with the world, and actually the carrier of the voice. And he, through that radio show, we were sponsoring workshops. He started coming, and I remember him because he interrupted and interrupted, adding more information, and some people were annoyed. And in the breaks, he was telling me that, no, I didn't come to learn anything. I came to teach you. In the beginning, I said, yeah, no, but because in the spiritual world, many people sometimes with a lot of ego are confused about signs or dreams they have, and they assume they are the reincarnation of Christ or of Quetzalcoatl or Buddha. I have heard so many things. During
So
20,
how long did you study with this gentleman?
oh, like 10 years, once a week. When he convinced me the third try, I told him, I give you 1 hour, And in that hour, he explained half of the book, The Real Toltec Prophecies, in my first class. So I said, okay, I think he really came to teach me. And we went like that. Thursdays, like 10 years, once a week, 3 to 4 hours. And then he introduced me some of his friends of the tradition that trained me other days. So it was kind of magical. I didn't look for that. And it came, and suddenly I was studying 2 or 3 times a week the Mexican tradition, from the ancient language, cosmology, calendars, and not even thinking about becoming a keeper or nothing. Just I said, okay, it's useful even for the radio show and to talk about Mexican things in a Mexican show. But it wasn't like even seeing like a future, even because you present me really different. Like normally in the interviews, you said like the interpretation and that. I never pretended to interpret. Actually, I was just being taught for example, to know your own astrology, the characteristics of the monkey or the lizard, and like that. And through that, I began seeing that it's exactly what was meant in the big cycles. So just to know me and to be able to do like a natal chart, then I saw, and they told me the similarities between that and the major picture. And that's when I think, when you don't pretend to know or something, and like antibiotics that were found by coincidence, is like, oh, okay. When you get to the more accurate, I think, answers, because you weren't even looking for that.
Right. So, what's the difference between the Aztec calendar and the Mayan one?
Um, the Both of them have a similar origin. The first known official calendar comes from the center of Mexico, close a little bit down to the south of Acapulco in the Pacific, that were the Mixtecs and Zapotecs. From there, it is like like two groups moved, one to the south and the other to the north. From the groups that moved to the south comes what we know as the Mayan calendar. And from the ones that went to the north comes what we know about like Aztec. I have to say they are not even Mayan, they are not Aztec. They are the recapitulation of many cultures that at the end someone took the credit. For example, the sunstone was carved in the time of the Aztecs. That's why it's named like that. But it's a huge body of knowledge of thousands of years of groups moving, and that's why they have similar counts, like kind of weeks of 13 days, months of 20. Of course, they were in weeks and months, but just so that people understand. But like they have many similarities, certain things were like different. For example, the long count. That is exactly what is the time that is important now for us.
You were just about out of time in this segment, but you mentioned the horoscope and our signs and our chart, and how does that relate to the Mayan calendar? And we'll probably have to pick up with it on the other side. How does that relate to the Mayan and the Aztec calendars?
For example, the long count that I want to say is not Mexican. It is a number that was seen by many cultures. For example, Egyptians name it precession of equinoxes. In the Western astrology, it was split in the 12 astrological signs that are the eras. In the Mayan and Aztec suns.
Well, we are going to have to pick up on that explanation on the other side of a quick commercial break. Sergio and I will return shortly, so don't you go away. You're listening to the Mission Evolution, coming to you on the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Hello again. This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. To all our faithful and thoughtful listeners, we really value your opinion and would love to hear from you. What do you think about ancient prophecies as they apply to modern times? This in from a member of our audience regarding the episode entitled, When Life Doesn't Go as Planned, Create an Alchemical Experience. BD shares, I love what your guest brought to the topic of transmuting our experience by sharing his own. It gave me hope and inspiration. Thanks, BD. Michael indeed was an extraordinary man with a remarkably inspiring story. Curious, dear audience? Visit our archives at missionevolution.org. Listen to the episode entitled, When Life Doesn't Go as Planned, Create an Alchemical Experience, and let us know what you think. Email me at info@missionevolution.org and give me your thoughts or questions, and we can share them on the very next show. With us this hour discussing the ancient prophecies of his lineage is Sergio Magaña. His website, sergiomagaña.com. Sergio, we were just talking about the commonalities between what we now today know as the horoscope and our natal charts and what's found in the Aztec and Mayan calendar. If you'd continue, please.
Of course. We were saying that I think to make these explanations that were very common in the, I think I heard it many times in the past 20 years about the change from the Pisces era to the Aquarius era, and like that, you should know like the characteristics of someone born under this Pisces or Aquarius, and from there it is created like, I think, the big picture. I don't know exactly in which order, but they have similarities. So in the Mexican tradition, it's exactly the same.
So let's clarify. You're talking about as a person, if you're born in, say, the Piscean era, that's the time of year you were born. However, if you're talking about the Piscean era, it's how many years is in an era versus a year for our horoscope?
They split it 26,500 years, that is a common number, in 12. And so it is like 2,100 something, because they didn't split it exactly. Sometimes if you Google it, they will tell you that some era of the horoscope has like 50 years more, the other 30 less, something like that. But it's very similar.
So basically the ages are like an overlording pattern that is reflected in the shorter patterns carried by the horoscope. And so you're saying that the same influences apply.
Exactly. That's what looks so complex, and it's so easy finally when you understand about these calendars. They are telling you about repetitive patterns that in a long period are going to be reduced cyclically until the minimal measures of time. For example, in the Mexican tradition, it could be reduced more, but there are like 4 fractions of 18 minutes that create what could be named like an hour. That measure based in 4 will go to hours, will go to days, will go to years, and will go to cycles of thousands of years.
Okay, so if we're looking at that, this gets complicated, and yet it is simple. It's just math, isn't it? So if we're looking at that, if we're in the Piscean era, but we are in the month of Pisces, that's going to be different than the Piscean era in the month of Aquarius. Is that correct?
Yeah, it will be, for example, normally in calendars, that I'm saying I'm just a student and not an astrologer, and that's the advantage, because I see it with the curiosity. So, if we are in the Piscean era, in Pisces, it will be emphasized the Pisces characteristics. So normally you see the ones that repeat, and they will be dominant. And from there, you get like a complete idea, because it has many different aspects.
Well, now I've got a curiosity here, and this has always been a curiosity for me. speaking of curiosities. How long ago were these calendars brought into being on our planet?
For example, we have everywhere in the world the official story and the oral traditions or non-official that they really differ. So, at least the precession of equinoxes known by the Egyptians should have like 4,000 to 5,000 years. The Mexican ones officially, the first ones were found 3,000 years. But they cover cycles of the Vedic ones, for example. We don't have official date, but they are covering even longer dates, like cycles of 80,000 something years. That is also the 26,500 years multiplied in 4. So you would
so it gets right up there.
yeah. So
Okay.
there is the story keeps on. Just add 4 times to the longest measure you have, and then you will have the next one.
Right. So within the ages that these cycles were discovered and started to be implemented, we didn't have telescopes. We didn't have Hubble out there. We didn't have any of this. Where did the information come from?
That's a question that normally people would love, depending where you are interviewed, to say extraterrestrial intelligence. That's what they want to hear, that normally people want to hear come out from your lips. So I will say it, extraterrestrial intelligence. But
how did we access this extraterrestrial intelligence? That's a mouthful. How did we access this in order to get the accurate calendars that we have today?
No, I am not sure about that. I just said it to please the ears of the people, because we don't know. It could be simply, like you said, mathematics. I could just see how if the shadow in the moment of an equinox moves 0.0000 millimeters from one year to the other, and calculate how long will take to the next to be in the same place. It could be mathematics without any ETs and conspiracy theory. It may be. So I am in both sides. And actually, I love to think about the possibility of human beings developing, because it's logic. If you just calculate, of course, you need a lot of a sense of how things work, that everything must have an order of movement, because it's logic.
So you're saying that either the information came from off-planet extraterrestrials, or it was extrapolated mathematically.
That's between many options. I don't want to tell you all the fantastic, not fantastic stories, because I don't think that's important. For me, it sounds a lot more, and not logical, because I am a man of faith, not a skeptical and nothing. But for me, it's even like to watch days, moon cycles, that they are, you can check it out at least 1 year. And then you will know that they are very similar. If not, they have an order. For example, if not, the days will be, if they are in good mood, 44 hours, and then the next moon cycle 29, and that. No, they repeat. So if things repeat, it's logical, and nothing interrupts that the movement of the shade will go in a long journey back to the starting point. And from there...
So we're talking cyclic, that it's a circle or a spiral, actually. And if it's a spiral, then things do change, yes?
They change, but at the same time, let's be very concrete in what is happening now. Apparently the circle, cycle, spiral, it's of our sun around the Pleiades for the ancient Mexicans. And if I am getting to the same starting point, I am in a similar point, but the Pleiades should be in a different one in their own spiral or ellipse or whatever you would like to name it. So it's similar but new. That's in the way that you can predict. Like every morning, it's similar to the previous one, but it's a new one.
So again, we have these cycles within cycles, and everything up there is spinning around. We know this, right? And so the calendar is a mapping of the relative positioning and therefore the influences, energetic influences of what's going on in the galaxy. Is that correct?
I don't think only in the galaxy.
Right.
It could be far beyond. It's just, and it's based. I think it will be clear with this. The other name of the calendar is in Nahuatl, Nahui Olin. That means 4 movements. And it is said that the only logic of the universe is that moves in the base 4. 4 phases of the moon to complete a cycle, 4 main moments of the day to go to the next one, to solstices, to equinoxes, and that it will keep repeating forever, outside
that makes more sense.
And inside.
That makes more sense as to why 4 is such a sacred number among many indigenous tribes.
And it's based on that. It's just because it's true. Dawn, midday, sunset, midnight, phases. And it keeps repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. So if it works in the small cycles, it has to work in the big ones.
But our calendar is much less accurate than the Mayan calendar, from what I've understood and studied. Where did we go wrong? If we're only counting years, what's going on there?
Of course, if you know actually the Mayan and the Aztec calendars and that, you see all the measures in our calendar. But of course, all of them are hidden. No one tells you why is measured the time in 60 minutes, 60 seconds, why the year is split in 52 weeks of 7 days, and everything is there but hidden. So if you don't know, you just leave it, and it's like, for example, being very honest, I never self-inquire myself, why the year is of 365 days? Why the weeks are of 7 days and not 10? I just thought it is like that. But if you really have like the source of information, you will find that the same measures are there. What's the difference? The people that know it, once you validate measures of time, then you validate the order that you would like to rule in society.
Ooh, repeat that one and explain it to me.
And this is not conspiracy theory, it's just the reality. If I put the measures without explaining anyone why, and the minutes are 60 seconds and an order, then I am imposing certain measures that could be others that will create effects in the society. So I am kind of Saturn, Kronos, the king of time.
Well, king of time, we'll have to meet you on the other side of a commercial break. It is time for a quick pause. Sergio and I will return to our discussion shortly, which is just starting to get interesting, so you stay right there. This is Mission Evolution. We're coming to you on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Welcome back. This is Mission Evolution. Did you know our entire leading edge information packed past episode collection is available to listen or download with our compliments? Visit our archives at www.missionevolution.org for our ever growing selection of guests and topics. To find out more about me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the other things I offer, visit www.findyourpathhome.com. Our guest this hour is Sergio Magaña. We're speaking about the Real Toltec Prophecies. His website, sergiomagaña.com. So, oh great master of time, we were talking about how if you control the time, you control people. Would you go into that a little bit more for me, please?
It could go really deep and sound like groups of power dominating, or it can be very simple. And I want to keep everything simple. We talked about 52 weeks of 7 days. That actually is a measure between the position of Orion and the Pleiades every year. That we know about because of the Mexican tradition. Will it change something if the time, it may sound not logical, but it is. If it was measured like 7 weeks of 52 days instead, or in the other way, everything would be organized different in order to fit. So everything is organized according to time.
And time is basically illusion.
Completely. But,
Yeah.
So we are organized based in an illusion that even in the scientific explanations that are accepted is giving shape to the 3 dimensions. An illusion that gives shape. So it is and it's not. But everything is organized through that. So actually, it's a great power to move time or to organize it. You put the rules.
So I want to change directions here a little bit, but there was much hype and hysteria around the Mayan calendar, predicting the end of the world in 12/21/12. Obviously, the world didn't end. So do you have an explanation of what happened there?
Yeah, of course. It's like watches or clocks. They are circles. In a circle, when you finish in a certain point, it keeps on. So it's just a misinterpretation that was done. Actually, the only original phrases that kept from that time is the 5th sun will finish with earthquakes, there will be a lot of suffering, and everyone will die. From those 3 lines came 2,100 books about the end of the world, the new golden era, and that. So imagine from 3 lines, how much could it be there? Real imagination, intuition. So, and actually, that's why I wanted then to study the language, because I said, if you don't know, probably not to be an expert in Mayan or in Nahuatl, but at least you should know what they are referring to. So, for example, the word death. Death is not only physical death. Every major change was named death. It was said that from conception, birth, to get married was a death, because it was a huge change. So with that, the interpretation may change with the word death a lot.
Yeah, it's like I went to a priest one time. Me and my curiosity always got me in trouble. And I said, between science and what's being taught in the church, it doesn't make sense that the world was created in 7 days. He says, well, it does if you understand the language, because in the language, day meant period of time. And that just tied everything back together for me. It's like language is so subjective. And as we move forward and the meaning of the words change because we move forward, the way they were said at the time is misinterpreted more often than it's interpreted correctly. Is that what you found?
Of course, no. I didn't read everything, but in the 2,100 books about 2012, I never heard about death described like changed with examples. Of course, like new era and that referring to, but every major change, if you change of country, if you change of job, it's a death that comes.
So do you think that if we are to use these ancient forms as divinational tools, that we really need to understand the translation and the original language?
Yeah, and the basis, like I told you, I never pretended to be prophet and to work, to write about this and that. I was just trying to understand myself through my horoscope. And then you need to know, because it's the same like Pisces and that, but with lizards, with monkeys, with turkeys that are the archetypes of desire, and they are giving characteristics of times. So to know, because if not, there is no, for example, the third period of the third sun, it is referred like a time when humankind became turkeys. Of course, that doesn't make any sense and possibility. It can only, with the logic mind, qualify like barbarians, how turkeys. But the turkey is the symbol of ego because of not being pretty when they are flirting. They move like if they were precious. And so it's the false illusion of being more or less. And that because of that, it ended with a complete rain of fire. And fire destroys, and that the turkeys are like the how can I say, like here to remember us that we shouldn't fall in the ego. This can have all the sense of the world or not. If you know
None
that.
whatsoever. So if we are using these interpretations, and of course we have to dance with them very carefully, but when everybody was jumping on the bandwagon of hype and hysteria and it's going to be the end of the world, it was actually an end of a cycle and the beginning of a new one, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if that's the case, how long did that ending last? Because everybody was writing about it like, okay, on the date, 12/21/12, it's all going to heck in a handbasket, right? How long does that transition last, though? It's not just a day, is it?
It's not, of course. The Mayan calendar actually covers a little bit more of in the cycles of time. So if you get more information, you have to create, I don't know if I can name it like that, precision, but terms to define very specific things. So it gets, if you are specializing your interpretation, then you have to say, this year will be this Bactun, and the next one, this one, like in our calendar, that probably it will be 2020 and the next day 2021. But there are others that keep it simple, like the center of Mexico. It says it's like in nature. Everything should imitate the small cycles. So in a dawn, it's darkness, and slowly some light shows. Then we are like in this bill, half and half, and then it becomes the new day. And for the ancient ones of the center of Mexico, that period between suns took 29 years every time.
And so by that theory or understanding, we could very easily still be in that transition that was supposed to happen 12/21/12. And I have to say, looking around us, it looks pretty much like we are.
Yes, actually, for the other count, the transition started, everything was about eclipses. And for that, I am completely sure it's truth. Why? Because if you go to one of the most beautiful temples in all Mexico, I think, is the Quetzalcoatl temple in a place that is called Xochicalco, that is like 2 hours from Mexico City. And there in the Quetzalcoatl is not only the feather serpent, it's the rising serpent, the precious knowledge, a level of consciousness. So the people that were Quetzalcoatl were like in plural, were the wise of all the groups. So in that temple...
Is that the place where they have that temple and the shadow at the equinox will show a snake?
Yeah.
Timing the temple?
No, that's Mayan, that's Chichen Itza.
Oh, okay.
But the special thing about this temple, because normally in the Quetzalcoatl temples, you have all these connotations about a serpent rising, like similar to Kundalini. This is different because it's like a meeting in which you see different people that they look like some more African, like where the Olmecs, some more from like the center of Mexico, some more Mayans, because it's if you see Mexico, you can define, okay, this should be from the south, and that according to how they look. So the wise people from all the tribes were having a gathering. That was to adjust the calendar. And according to the keepers, that those gatherings happen every 52 years to make adjustments. So, and in that temple, it's carved the symbol of a crocodile eating like a ball. That is the symbol of eclipse. And it's 8 times in the temple. So eclipses should be very important.
So they reset our alignment with the galactic movement.
Yeah. And that's why.
And so that starts to make sense to me, why we have those mounds in Ireland, that the sun comes through the door and shines in the center on the morning of the spring equinox, and the all these different sacred sites that we have that are aligned so that when the sun rises on the morning of the equinox, it hits in a particular place, and people would adjust their sense of timing based on when it hit.
Of course, that's what I told you. If you measure that point, then you can calculate when it's going back. If nothing changes and the measures keep constant, when it will go back to the same starting position. That's
also, doesn't that align the people with the actual frequencies going on? So it's like we get a reset.
Yes, because even though that it hits in a certain point, in a certain time, that is similar, but like I told you, it's different. It will be in other angle from the perspective of the universe, and the angle of the sun is what rules the consciousness. So that's why if you are, for example, in these temples that you are describing, in the part of the left, the upper left part, creates like a type of consciousness. In the lower left part, other type. And like that, it keeps moving and repeating.
Now, the Lakota go to the Black Hills. That's why it was their sacred land. And they do a pilgrimage there every year to, again, align the holy people and therefore the people with the way life is working. So they would reset every year. It makes me wonder how we're suffering in the Western world that we don't do this anymore. Are we totally out of sync with life?
Yeah, but certain groups that apparently promote that this is nonsense, they align themselves. So it's like a double, we would say it, moralistical double, that I do what I criticize. So, but normally people was just taught that going Sundays to the church will, at least in the previous time, solve everything, and that you didn't need to align yourself with nothing else. But it's not true. Everything is in movement. And actually, I'm so astonished, mesmerized is the word, about descriptions. For example, for the Toltecs and Aztecs, the new sun is called the white sun, like that. And recently I have seen many documentaries and things about how people have been taking pictures of the sun and how from the 60s to now it's becoming whiter.
Well, we're going to have to pick up on that ever-whitening sun again on the other side of a commercial break. Sergio and I will be back shortly to continue our discussion, so don't go away. This is Mission Evolution on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Welcome back. This is Mission Evolution, bringing together gifted people of service to the world. I love to hear from our audience. Your thoughts are very important to me. To suggest a topic or guest that you think would be of interest, email info@missionevolution.org. To find out more about me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the other things I offer, visit www.findyourpathhome.com. This hour, we're sharing thoughts with Sergio Magaña. His website, sergiomagaña.com. Sergio, we were talking about the ever-whitening sun. So would you pick up on that for us?
Yes, of course. All the suns that give characteristics are named in a certain way. This is the white sun. But now that we're approaching, I didn't think it was really, really important. But this information of people watching of the sun, at least not that the sun really is becoming whiter, but in certain places and in the same time, it looks whiter for us. And what counts is our perception. And actually, if, for example, I lived in England, and then I thought the sun shines a little bit less, not because of cloudy and that, because it was more like the saber lights, whiter, and then if you travel to Spain, it became a little bit more yellow and bright. So the position and changes actually the consciousness and defines the psychology of the area. If they work a lot, if they like fun, not of everyone, but it affects a lot.
We know that there's, I'm trying to remember his name, a scientist, Dmitriev. He's a Russian scientist, and he believes that the sun has moved into a higher charged portion of the galaxy, which would make sense given the cycles that we're talking. And he says that it's causing excitation of the plasma on the leading edge of the sun's heliosphere. That's being fed into the sun's electromagnetic field, which in turn is being fed into the interplanetary space. So that also could be affecting the energetic color of the sun, couldn't it?
Yeah, or at least our perception of it.
Mm-hmm.
Something is changing, and now a lot of people doesn't notice it because it's looking even from the sun and the moon through the cell phones. But if you just watch and you keep a record, things repeat and things change. And the white sun, but for me it was like wonderful that it started like the change where it was predicted thousands of years ago that it was going to be named white sun. Why? No one knows, but suddenly, very close, it's becoming white, at least in our perception. And it's amazing. It's amazing because it's like, for me, it makes me feel safe that there is an intelligence behind, not calling it God or something, but an order. That if you learn to adjust yourself to the order, then it's just like sailing in proper weather.
So if we're using the calendar to adjust ourselves to the order, that puts us in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing to manifest what we want, doesn't it?
Of course. And
so what predictions have you seen, or that you spoke about in your book, actually? What predictions do we see coming true, and how do you interpret them?
Okay, first, like I told you, it was like a cycle of 29 years. The first 20 were defined like an external change, that everything outside us was going to change. And of course, we cannot deny that technology, mails, computers, internet, create, for example, I was still raised in the previous sun before all these advances, and I remember to send postcards and to wait 2 weeks or 3, things like that. And it has really changed. But the last 9 were predicted like to be challenging ones because the inner change, the real inner change would start with crossing through the underworlds. So many things have happened, like 2020, that in the Aztec count, it hasn't ended. Actually, now we are it ends on Saturday, the 12th. So we are in the day out of the count, the ones to empty yourself, purificate, and recapitulate what happened in the previous cycle to prepare yourself for the new one.
So that's the going into the dark, like the shamanic death, isn't it?
Yeah, and actually, like I told you, we cannot trust many of the things that were written because the monks and the conquistadors thought that they were the days of very, very bad luck because they saw the ancient people to disappear. They weren't in the markets, and they thought they are hiding of spirits. No, they were fasting. They were doing sweating lodges. They were purifying, like it happens in many traditions, in order to start a new cycle in a better way.
Well, this brings up, everybody in day-to-day life, everybody's, complaining about when do we get to go back to normal? But from what you're telling me, there is no going back to the old normal. There is purifying yourself to prepare for creating a new one.
Yeah, because the new sun, metaphorically, that I think it's the easy way to see it. The suns were like compared to the four movements of the day. Some will have characteristics from the dawn to midday, midday to sunset, and like that. So the fifth one, that is the one that is finishing, was one that ruled from the sunset to the midnight. So when they start with the sunlight, normally it's like being in the waking state, in our conscious mind, with our eyes opened. And when you have your eyes opened, your perception goes outside. So normally, the society has this tendency to place God and the Creator outside, medicine outside, satisfaction. They are very good for war, conquering, getting things, because everything is outside. Of course, there's certain people that keeps the knowledge of the inside in order to a most auspicious time to the comeback. And now we're entering one of the midnight. That is like closing your eyes. If you close your eyes, there is no outside.
So if we're going into the midnight, how long is that supposed to last?
No, that lasted 6,625 years. But we are in the final point. We are like 10 to 12 to midnight.
So as we reach the new dawn, as it's been called a lot, what's going to change? How is our perception going to change in that we're opening our eyes, but we're focused outward? Will that tend to have us looking outside for answers?
The people that want the previous normal, if we can call it normal, yeah, it was normal. It was because everything is normal. Different perceptions. It's like you do different things in the sunset than in the night. So, but for the people that is just wanting or God or medicine or the things from the outside to solve their life, it's not going to work in the new order. It's not becoming that I am the God and everything, because that's a huge mistake. But to see that what you thought like power of creation was outside, to place it also inside and in very concrete places, like the gap between your thoughts, very similar to meditation. When you are sleeping in the first cycles of dream in delta, that is deep sleep, to get lucidity and conscious there in order to amplify the program of your ancestors, of the abilities of healing of your body in your dreams, that are the pure expression of the inside and unconscious mind, in order to create the outer mind that will be your life, and many things.
So hopefully next week we're going to get into more of the dream work and how each individual can use some of these techniques to help adjust to where we're going and to become co-creators versus victims of fate. But explain to me one more time, we're going into the light time, Does that mean we have to work harder to access the interior? It's more likely that we'll be focused on the exterior?
No, 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 we're going into the midnight. So we're actually
Okay.
we're going to the darkness, but not in the way that is interpreted like light good, darkness bad.
Yeah,
It's
right. No, just in the interior, right?
yeah, it's like in the Bible. From the darkness came the light. So
Hmm.
it's going to the origin. So and I want to keep it really, really simple. If I have to close my eyes and there is no outside, I have to manage it in a certain way. The first thing is to begin placing things inside in order to solve the solution. That may, and we're in the middle point. If you see what happened in the past 9 years, from a complete world looking outside, it made like a huge shift to a middle point. That is technology. Now almost no one is looking outside, but is looking to their telephone. So we are in a middle point that eventually these things about the small fails in technology that are happening here, there, will make the compass change, like not only like change of poles, but change of our poles to look inside to our inner self.
As we look into our inner self, though, isn't that really an excellent access point to all that is?
Of course, but first of all, we must trust in our inner self, because if we have been told, and it comes in our genetic memories, that we are not perfect. Of course, we're not talking about perfection in an idealistic way. That we are destructive, that we are punished or we get prizes from an external force. Then to reestablish that confidence that in the inner force, actually it sounds like Star Wars, but it's truth, that may take you to other places, and probably the most beautiful ones that go beyond what you ever thought. Because actually thoughts are part of the light, the external world, and are defined by an external world. The inner force doesn't have a shape, so it doesn't have a limit, the one that you want to put.
So by moving inward, we're actually removing a lot of our restrictions, aren't we?
Yeah, it may remove all of them if you if you wish. Actually, the best example that I can give you, that now that I am doing a new book, that the main thing that I think, and it's not me, also the Theosophical schools, value of the Toltecs is that they put like example the dreams, like how should it be when you are in contact with the inner force. In a
Well, we're
dream,
going to have to call it. Unfortunately, we're out of time. It went so fast. And so we'll pick up on a lot of this next week when Sergio is going to take us into further dream world. Our guest this hour has been Sergio Magaña, author of the Real Toltec Prophecies, How the Aztec Calendar Predicted Modern Day Events and Reveals a Pathway to a New Era of Humankind. Sergio is a renowned Mexican healer and practitioner of the ancient Toltec and Aztec lineages. His website, sergiomagaña.com. Remember, our entire information-packed fast episode collection is available for listener download, free of charge. Visit our archives at www.missionevolution.org for our ever-growing selection of guests and topics. This has been Mission Evolution on the X Zone broadcast section. Don't forget to join us next week when once again we'll be speaking with Sergio Magaña.